I'm Ryan Milliken from Hardway Performance, and you're listening to the Diesel Power Podcast.
This is Jaron Holder from Holderdown Performance.
This is Anthony Range from XDP.
I'm Dimitri Miller with No Zone Diesel.
I'm Drew with D&J Precision Machine.
I'm Pinky.
And you're listening to the Diesel Power Podcast.
Diesel Power Podcast.
Diesel Power Podcast.
And you're listening to the Diesel Power Podcast.
The one and only Diesel Power Podcast.
Hello, Diesel fans, and welcome to the Diesel Power Podcast. Make sure and subscribe to the Diesel Power Podcast on iTunes, YouTube, and SoundCloud for the latest on diesel parts, race updates, and our always entertaining series, Diesel Gossip. Diesel Power Challenge 2016 is right around the corner, and joining us today is Jesse Westcott. Jesse's in the voting for Team Ford with his 6.4 Powerstroke, and his build began out of necessity, but has quickly turned into a reliable daily driver capable of 4-digit power. Let's jump into Jesse's 6.4 build and journey into the DPC voting. I was looking around on one of the Diesel Power magazines recently, and I saw your truck is in there, and I wanted to ask you some more questions about your 6.4 build and getting it ready to go to DPC. I mean, up in the voting and everything. I'm always fascinated by the stories of how that takes place. When did you think, I think I could build a DPC truck, or did it just kind of happen?
It actually happened as a joke. I filled out the entry form. I sent it in and never thought anything of it after that. What happened was I had a catastrophic failure with my truck, and I don't know, a good set of Carrillo rods led to de-lipped and coated pistons, and next thing you know, it's got injectors, and one thing led to another, and I'm like, yeah, all right, sure, I'll put this in there. It'll never happen, but I'll try it. Well, I guess the joke's kind of on me, because I actually did make it in the voting.
Who would you say, if someone inspired you or kind of kept you going while you were thinking of, when the truck's down and, all right, let's put billet rods in it, let's do this and let's do that, who really helped you as far as building the kind of game plan for your 6.4?
My game plan pretty much was my own thinking, and it started off with just making a solid bottom end. Balance the rotating assembly, good rods, that kind of thing. The most, I don't know about inspiration, but my biggest supporter would be my girlfriend, Barbie. She's very, very understanding about my passion for the sport. And without her, I couldn't really do exactly what it is I do with my truck without her support, She's very interested in it. She likes it. But at the same thing, it's not necessarily, it's not like we're going to go build her a truck of her own, but it's our truck. It's not really mine. So it's both of ours together. But as far as keeping me going during the lows of my build, obviously Arctic Kurtz Diesel, he's helping me with the air and fuel part of it, and good buddy of mine, Brad. When you get a kick in the face and part of the build goes 3 steps backwards, those guys are just kind of there. They're your real close friends, and they pick you up and keep you going.
When you were doing the build, did you sit down and map it all out on paper, or was it just kind of things came up and you had to kind of make decisions on the fly and chat with the shops and the different guys out there and just kind of do it on the fly?
Wasn't necessarily on the fly. I've had my truck for about 3 years, and I bought it on a Friday, and that Monday I tuned, deleted it immediately, and ever since then I've just been researching go-fast parts for my truck. So I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of all kept back in my brain housing group there. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to run, if I'm going to get ported heads, I need this cam. If I want to run this RPM, I should have these valve springs. So it wasn't really off the cuff necessarily. Parts of it were, some of it were. But I pretty much had a real good idea what I wanted to do before I started.
I think a lot of diesel guys do, because we get a truck and we might not be able to do everything we want to right away, but we look at the magazines and look online and watch videos and different things, and we kind of see what direction we may want to go. And gosh, I've always wanted a 6.4. I remember, like 2008, I was in the market for a truck, and I happened to buy a Cummins. And ever since that time, I've always wanted to get a 6.4. I don't know what it is about them, if it's the body style, what they can do. It's just such an awesome platform, to build from, and I'm envious.
Well, thank you. It is kind of a neat platform. The reason I bought the 6.4 was, well, let me back up a little bit. Initially, I didn't really know what I wanted. I had a diesel, but it was a 6.5 Chevy, not the greatest thing. So from there, I wanted to buy a truck, and I knew that the 6.4s responded the best to just basic modifications.
Yeah.
So, but initially it was kind of a larger investment to get into a 6.4 that had low miles on it, but it responded the best. And to me, that seemed like the easiest thing to do. I may initially spend more to get in the truck, but I'm not going to spend a big bunch on a transmission build or that kind of stuff right away. It would get me to where I wanted to be relatively close with just few modifications.
What when you had to make the decision to put billet rods in it, what happened right before then? What did it have a catastrophic failure, or what happened with the engine that kind of started the build?
It was incredibly catastrophic. Somehow I managed to stretch 4 rods. So 4 pistons hit the valves. Not real exactly sure, but we took the rods out, and 4 of them were 6/1000ths longer than the other 4.
Ooh.
Yeah, not real sure how that happened. It defies the laws of physics. I've heard of bending a rod, but never physically making them longer.
Yeah, that's strange.
Right. So that's what kind of started the build. And like I said, I basically just wanted a strong bottom end, and one thing kind of led to the next. And before you know it, we're putting dual feelers on it, 100% over injectors, and my son is now going to have to go to truck driving school because I spent his college fund on it. But he might like the open road. I don't know.
You just point in the driveway and say, "There's your college fund right there."
Yeah. Just think, son, one day all that could be yours.
I wish my dad would have left me something like that.
Yeah.
So, like when you look at the field, now DPC, it's organized into different makes, right? So they've got like a
Yep.
Dodge team, GM, and Ford. When you were
Correct.
thinking about getting, entering into the voting, did you have a power number in mind, or what kind of went into building the truck to compete and hopefully win, the whole event?
Well, I haven't got to DPC yet, so I'm not necessarily thinking about winning. I want to shoot for right around 1,200 horse. I feel it should be, with spray, I should be able to get there. Not too sure about elevation since I've never ran anything at a mile high. But we wanted to be right around 1,200 horse and about 1,800 to 2,000 foot-pounds. I have looked at some of the other trucks in the field, and they're very impressive. There's definitely a lot of experience in a lot of the other manufacturers' builds. And just to be in their presence, of the Kelsey Epp or the David Ferguson would just be awesome, because they have some pretty powerful, nice trucks.
One of the things I've never had a 1,000 horse truck and near it, but a lot of people want to know, like, is that the power level your truck's at now? How streetable is it? Can you hook a trailer to the back and tow with it, or is it something that's like not just solely competition only, but how usable is it every day?
Well, that was one of the things that went into our idea of building it. We wanted it to be basically a fun street truck. We didn't build it with the sole intention of a race truck. Without spray, we're figuring it should be in the neighborhood of 850, 875 horse. And with today's diesels, that's, and the tuning's got so much better over these last few years that you can have a 1,000 horse, 850 to 1,000 horsepower truck, tow a fifth wheel with it, drop your kids off at school, run down to the grocery store. I mean, relatively easily. It's not unheard of.
It's awesome how far the trucks have come. Since say the 6.4s came out, is to be able to have that kind of power on tap, but also be able to use it and have it as a daily driver if you want.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm ecstatic. It's just fun. I know a lot of guys that, they take their truck out on weekends and that kind of stuff, but I told so many people that, if I ever got into DPC, I had a DPC truck, I'd drive that thing. Well, I'm kind of doomed, so now I'm going to have to at least drive it for a year every day, which, darn, that'll just be so distressing. But,
has diesel always been has it always been something you were passionate about and really liked, or is it something that later on you got an appreciation for and then got into the sport and everything?
It came a little later on for me. I've always been into things that go fast and make loud noises, bikes, snowmobiles, you name it. But when I got hooked up with the guys at Kurtz Diesel, my buddy Art, I've known him since high school, and it just kind of clicked. His boss took me for a ride in a 500 horse Cummins, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's just so different. The way it pushes you in the seat is completely different than, say, LS6 Chevelle or, like a Camaro or something, an old muscle car. It's definitely addicting. It's unlike any other kind of performance or speed that I've experienced, So I guess sooner or later it was going to happen.
That's how it happened for me too. I didn't really get into trucks till I was older.
Yep.
And I wish I would have been alive during the muscle car era, because I would have been broke, but I'd had some nice cars.
Absolutely. To be 25 in like 1973 would have been a dream.
That's what's so cool about diesels, is it's like now, in a sense, they're almost like the new quote-unquote muscle cars, in that you can make so much power and torque with them from, with any of the brands, that it's kind of like we get to live it now.
Absolutely. Excuse me. I honestly believe that the muscle car in the horsepower wars are going on today, but it's happening with diesel trucks. To think that a stock diesel would make 850 foot-pounds of torque is unheard of, back, say 10 years ago. The technology it's exciting.
There's so many choices and so many advancements that happen. And what I really love about the 6.4s is I don't think they've peaked yet. They came on really strong, and like with your build and what you're able to do with the power and still daily drive it, and the advancements that happen, they're not going away. And there's a huge fan base of Powerstroke fans and drivers and owners and everything else, that it's going to be really cool to see where that, and even the 6.7 and the 6.0 platform goes. We talked with Jaron Holder recently, and he was telling us about his 6.0, and that was, to see what he's done and guys like him with these motors is really exciting.
Absolutely. The 6.0, it kind of had kind of a bad reputation, I think, and I don't think it's I don't think it's all quite what it's made out to be. With you can fix some of the problems. and it's a solid, reliable truck. Obviously, there was way more 6.0s and 6.7s made than the 6.4s. But the 6.4, I think that short build time that they had, it didn't take long for it to form a fan base, and people are just in love with it. It's different. It's not like every other truck. I feel the 6.4 is, well, it's the only one that I know of that came with a compound setup from the factory, and I think that was a large attribute that made it respond so well to minimal modifications. And obviously with the injectors, they flow a little more fuel than some of the other manufacturers, I feel. I'm not quite positive on that, but that's just what I've been told. So I feel that you're going to see things that weren't necessarily, when a new truck comes along, it's a race to make modifications and make it better. But I think there's still a lot more in store for the 6.4. I think a lot of these aftermarket companies are going to bring out some technology and some pretty cool things to the table in the future.
This conversation's making me want to go buy a 6.4.
Well, everybody should have one.
Oh, geez, I love them. I remember, I think it was last year with JD's truck to DPC. That one, I think, kind of sealed the deal for me that one day I do need to get one because it is so clean.
Oof.
And immaculate. And I just remember sitting there looking at it. It's done perfectly.
His truck is very appealing.
So I got to ask you, because I know pretty much all of us that would build a high-power truck, we always nickname our trucks. And there's always fantastic stories that go with it. Does your truck have a nickname, and what is the backstory on it?
My truck recently, not too long ago, I'd never thought about a nickname about my truck. But I was messaging JD on Facebook, and I said, how'd your truck get the name of Denzel? And he said, well, it's, Black and Mean. And I said, oh, from the movie Training Day. And he said, exactly. and I kind of thought about it, and I'm like, Black and Mean, a lot of power. Well, I'm not quite to the J.D. Gleason level yet, because that kind of meticulousness and being so precise with your truck, I mean, that's actually an art, and I think he has it down pat. So I thought to myself, and I'm like, wait a minute, I got it. I'll have to name my truck Weezy from the Jeffersons. That's perfect. That's her. That's it. Weezy. Sure.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Weezy from the Jeffersons, I guess. Not real intimidating, not like Denzel, but not doesn't flow off the tongue as nice, but it'll have to do.
So how does all the voting work for getting into the competition for Diesel Power Challenge? I've never really been sure on that entirely, but I wanted to ask you since you're in it.
Sure.
How that worked?
The voting for Diesel Power Challenge, it's in the April issue of Diesel Power magazine, and you have to purchase the magazine, and you get to pick 3 General Motors products, 3 Ram-powered, Cummins-powered trucks, and 4 Ford trucks. And those voting ballots have to be sent through the mail by April 1st.
Okay. So we're getting close.
Very close.
All right. So they got to be postmarked by the 1st. So
Yes.
We've got, a little over a week left or so.
Well, that's plenty of time.
That's awesome. And then, so how soon after the 1st do they kind of let you guys know? Within a few weeks or something?
I would hope so, within a few weeks. Give me a little more time to prep. But even, at this stage, I'm just so in awe that I even made it into the voting. To go to Denver would just be icing on the cake, a dream come true.
It really is a cool experience. I've never been in it, but I mean, just from what people have told me and I've seen, it looks like just being around truck people, that have the same passion, went through the same thing you did to get to that point, and then putting the trucks all up against each other.
Yep. I mean, you're all competing, but with the same level of enthusiasts and love for the sport, I imagine you make friends pretty quick, and you're all, at the end of the day, you're all just buddies.
Do you go out and practice some of the different things, like with the trailer tow and any of that stuff, or have you been towing trailers and stuff for quite a long time, where it's just like second nature for you?
I practice absolutely none of it. None of it. I work in the logging industry up here in Upper Michigan at Iron River, so I've backed a trailer up once or twice.
I'm sure you have. I'm sure you're good at it. That's the part I would fail hands down right there.
Well, because I feel confident about it, I probably will fail hands down.
That's really cool. I saw you in the magazine, and with our podcast, we had learned a little bit about your build, and I'm really glad that you came onto the podcast, because there's a lot of people that get excited about the passion that you have and the way these trucks are built, and we hope that you get in. I've got to pick up a magazine. I've got to put in my votes here pretty soon. But
better hurry.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'm going to get them out. I definitely hope that you get in, and we're here in Colorado, so stop by and say hi, see the truck, see Weezy. And,
absolutely.
I'm sure you'll do very, very well.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, no problem at all. Thanks for chatting with us.
You bet, man. Bye.
Diesel Power podcast fans, go grab a copy of Diesel Power magazine and cast a vote for Jesse Westcott and his 6'4" for Team Ford. Remember, votes need to be mailed in by April 1st. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.